The checkout line wasn't moving. Andrea Walsh stood behind her cart, fingers drumming impatiently on the handle, her company's quarterly report, burning a hole in her mind. Harper clung to her mother's jacket, trying to be invisible the way she always did in public places. A 7-year-old who'd learned that silence was safer when you couldn't speak. Then the man ahead of them turned around, grease under his fingernails, faded work uniform, the kind of exhaustion that came from double shifts. But his eyes landed on Harper, and something shifted. His hands lifted into the air, smooth, intentional, purposeful. Sign language. "Hey there. Cool backpack," his fingers said with a warm smile. Harper's face lit up like sunrise. Andrea froze, her grip tightening on the cart handle. This tired stranger in a grocery line, this blue-collar worker she'd barely noticed, was doing what 90% of the world never bothered to do. He was speaking her daughter's language. Who was this man? And why did it feel like everything was about to change? Joel Brennan's alarm went off at 5 in the morning, the same as every day for 3 years. He reached over with calloused fingers and silenced it without opening his eyes. The apartment was cold, the heating broken again, but Joel had stopped noticing. He pulled on his faded work uniform and looked in the bathroom mirror at a man who looked 10 years older than 38. The soft padding of feet made him turn. Ruby stood in the doorway, dark hair wild, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Joel's hands moved before words could form. "Good morning, sweetheart. Did I wake you?" Ruby shook her head and signed back. "I wanted breakfast with you." They moved through their morning routine with practiced ease. Joel made eggs while Ruby set the table with mismatched plates from thrift stores. The refrigerator was covered in Ruby's drawings, bright pictures of their family of 2 and the mother who wasn't there anymore. Ruby tugged his sleeve. "Can we practice vocabulary?" Joel nodded, and they signed together over breakfast. Tree, book, friend, happy. Each word was a small victory for a 9-year-old girl who'd never spoken aloud in her life. When Ruby stumbled, Joel showed her again with infinite patience. This was their time before the world intruded. After breakfast, Joel braided Ruby's hair the way his wife used to, his rough hands surprisingly gentle. Ruby watched him in the mirror, her expression serious. "Will you pick me up today?" Joel's hands hesitated. "I'll try, baby. Mrs. Rodriguez will get you if I can't." Ruby nodded but couldn't hide her disappointment. That look killed Joel every time. Every missed pickup, every late evening, every moment he couldn't be the father he wanted to be. But bills didn't pay themselves, and Ruby deserved better than this cold apartment. The school bus arrived at 7:30. Joel walked Ruby to the street, her hand small in his. Other parents talked amongst themselves, occasionally glancing at Ruby with uncomfortable pity. They never knew what to say to the deaf girl, so they said nothing. Ruby stood close to Joel's leg and waited silently. When the bus came, Joel knelt down. "Have a good day. I love you." Ruby signed back immediately. "I love you too, Daddy." Joel watched the bus disappear and felt the weight of being a single father settle on his shoulders again. His workday was routine. 3 residential calls, 2 commercial properties, all requiring the kind of labor that left him exhausted. His boss at the HVAC company handed him orders without conversation. Joel didn't complain. This job kept Ruby in her special school with teachers who understood her needs. That was worth the aching back and raw hands. By evening, his phone showed 6 missed calls. Joel called back, expecting bad news, but his boss sounded excited. "Joel, grocery store downtown needs someone for their freezer. Double overtime. Can you do it?" Joel thought about Ruby waiting at home, about unpaid bills, about hearing aids insurance wouldn't cover. "Yeah, I'll go." The grocery store was bright and crowded when Joel arrived just after 5. He found an employee who pointed him toward the back, past the deli counter. Joel needed the restroom first and backtracked to the front. That's when he accidentally joined the checkout line, the crowd shifting around him until he stood there surrounded by waiting shoppers. The line wasn't moving, some price check issue up front. People checked phones and shifted impatiently. Joel just stood there, grateful for a moment to rest. Then he felt eyes on him. A small girl was staring up at him from behind a cart, no more than 7 years old, with light brown hair and striking green eyes. She gripped the cart handle with white knuckles, and behind her stood a woman in an expensive blazer, distracted and impatient. The girl looked at Joel with an expression he recognized instantly. His Ruby had that same look, that silent question. Will you understand me? Will you try? Joel had seen it 1,000 times. The look of a child who'd learned most people wouldn't bother. His heart broke and acted simultaneously. Joel turned fully toward the girl and lifted his hands. Sign language, slow and clear. Hey there. Cool backpack. I like the stars. The girl's eyes went wide, her mouth forming a circle of shock. For a moment, she just stared at his hands, like they'd performed magic. Then her own hands flew up, moving with pure excitement. You can talk like me. Nobody talks like me. Joel felt warmth spread through his chest. I have a daughter. She talks like you too. Her name is Ruby. She's 9 years old. The woman behind the cart had gone completely still. No more drumming fingers, no more impatience. Joel looked up and met blue eyes staring at him with profound shock. Her mouth was slightly open, her professional demeanor shattered. She looked from Joel's face to his hands to her daughter and back, trying to process something impossible. Joel suddenly felt conscious of his dirty uniform, his work boots, the grease under his nails. The woman started, then stopped. You know sign language? Yes, ma'am, Joel said simply. The girl was tugging her mother's jacket, signing frantically. Mommy, he has a daughter like me. Her name is Ruby. The woman looked at her daughter, and something vulnerable crossed her face. I'm sorry, Joel said quickly. I didn't mean to intrude. Your daughter just reminded me of Ruby. The woman shook her head. No, please don't apologize. I'm Andrea Walsh. This is Harper. She said the name like it should mean something. Joel just nodded politely. Joel Brennan, ma'am. Nice to meet you both. Harper was signing at Joel non-stop, asking about Ruby and school and friends. Joel answered each question patiently, his hands moving with practiced ease. He told Harper that Ruby loved to draw, went to a special school across town, would probably love a friend who understood her. Andrea watched with an expression somewhere between amazement and grief. The line started moving. Joel stepped aside. I should let you go. But Harper grabbed her mother's arm desperately. Can we talk more? Please. I want to meet Ruby. Andrea looked at Joel then, really looked at him, not at his uniform, but at him. At how naturally he'd communicated with Harper, how he'd made her light up. Would you mind exchanging numbers? Harper would really like to meet Ruby, if you're open to that. Joel blinked, surprised. People like Andrea didn't usually want their kids around HVAC technicians. But looking at Harper's hope, thinking of Ruby's loneliness, he nodded. Sure, that would be great. They exchanged numbers right there in line. As they moved toward the registers, Harper kept looking back, signing goodbye and thank you. Joel's phone buzzed immediately. This is Andrea. Thank you for being kind to Harper. You have no idea what that meant. Joel stared at the message before responding. Ruby doesn't have many friends who understand her. I know how hard that is. Thank you for wanting them to meet. He finally made his way to the freezer. The repair took an hour, routine work. But Joel's mind wasn't on compressors. It was on green eyes and a mother who'd looked at him like he'd done something extraordinary when he'd only said hello. When Joel got home after 8, Ruby wasn't upset. She ran to him, wrapping small arms around his waist, telling him about her day. Gold star on math, 3 new vocabulary words. Cookies with Mrs. Rodriguez. Joel knelt down, exhaustion forgotten. "I'm so proud of you, baby." Ruby's expression turned serious. "Daddy, will you teach me more signs tonight?" Joel's throat tightened. Even after his 10-hour day, Ruby's biggest concern was learning more. "Of course. Get your workbook." They spent an hour on the couch, Ruby's workbook across Joel's lap, practicing signs and vocabulary. Ruby absorbed everything like a sponge, her small hands mimicking his with increasing precision. When she yawned, Joel carried her to bed and tucked her in. "I love you, Daddy," she signed sleepily. Joel signed it back and stood in her doorway, watching her sleep, feeling the weight of every choice. This was why he worked doubles, why he took overtime, why he came home exhausted. Ruby deserved better. She deserved friends and opportunities and a future where her disability wasn't a barrier. Joel pulled out his phone and opened Andrea's message. He typed slowly. "Ruby would love to meet Harper. Would next Saturday work? We could meet at the park downtown." He stared at the message for a full minute before sending. Then he tried not to think about class differences and expectations, about Andrea Walsh being someone important while he fixed air conditioners. But he thought about Harper's hopeful face and Ruby's loneliness and decided it was worth the risk. His phone buzzed immediately. "Saturday would be perfect. Maple Grove Park at 10. I'll bring coffee." Joel typed back, "Sounds good," and sat in the quiet apartment, wondering how 30 seconds in a checkout line was about to change everything. The week passed in routine blur. Early mornings, long shifts, homework, bedtime stories in sign language. But something was different now. A spark of anticipation Joel hadn't felt in years. When he told Ruby about Harper, about the girl they'd meet Saturday who was just like her, Ruby's face transformed. She asked constant questions. What did Harper look like? How old? Did she go to special school? What if Harper didn't like her? Joel answered patiently, watching Ruby's excitement grow daily. A real friend. Someone who understood without translation. Someone who knew what being different felt like. Friday night, Ruby couldn't sleep. She came to Joel's room 3 times, stuffed rabbit clutched tight, signing anxious questions. What if Harper didn't like her? What if they couldn't understand each other? Joel pulled her into his lap each time, hands moving slow and reassuring. Harper is going to love you. You're kind and funny and smart. And she talks just like you do. Ruby nodded, but Joel felt her heart racing. This wasn't just a playdate. For Ruby, this was the possibility of something she'd never had. A real friend. Saturday morning, Ruby was awake before Joel for the first time in months, already dressed in her favorite purple shirt. She'd made her bed without being asked. Joel made breakfast, but Ruby barely ate. Too excited. She kept signing the same question. "Is it time yet?" Joel checked his watch repeatedly. 9:15. 45 minutes to go. They arrived at Maple Grove Park exactly at 10. Joel parked near the playground where he could see the main path. Ruby pressed her face to the window, scanning desperately. Joel's own nerves showed in his drumming fingers. What if Andrea changed her mind? What if the class difference became too obvious? Then he saw them. Andrea in jeans and a sweater, looking more approachable than in business attire. Harper skipped beside her, pulling on her mother's hand, urging her faster. Joel glanced at Ruby, whose eyes were wide with hope and fear. "Can I go?" she signed frantically. Joel nodded, and Ruby was out of the truck before he unbuckled, moving faster than he'd seen in months. The girls met halfway, colliding between their 2 worlds. For a moment they just stared, shy and uncertain. Then Harper's hands lifted. "Hi, I'm Harper. I like your shirt." Ruby's nervousness evaporated. "I'm Ruby. I like your shoes." Just like that, the ice broke. Within seconds they were signing rapidly, talking over each other, laughing silently with their whole bodies. Joel and Andrea stood back, watching with identical relief. Andrea handed Joel coffee. "Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure if you would." Joel glanced at her, surprised. "Why wouldn't I? Ruby's talked about nothing else all week." Andrea smiled sadly. "Most people make excuses. They say they'll arrange a playdate, then never follow through. Harper being different makes them uncomfortable." Joel understood completely. Ruby's had the same experience. Kids are nice but don't really try to be friends. Too much effort to bridge the gap. Andrea nodded. Harper's been asking for a friend like this since kindergarten. Someone who doesn't make her feel like a burden. They sat at a picnic table, close enough to supervise but giving the girls space. Harper and Ruby moved to the swings, hands never stopping their conversation. Joel tried not to think how surreal this was. A week ago he'd been thinking about compressors in a checkout line. Now he sat with the CEO watching their daughters become friends. "Can I ask something?" Andrea said carefully. "How long have you known sign language?" Joel set his coffee down. 3 years, since my wife died." He said it quickly, allowing no room for pity. Andrea's expression softened. "I'm so sorry," Joel shrugged, not quite hiding the pain. "Car accident. Ruby was 6. She'd been born deaf, and my wife learned sign language during pregnancy, was fluent when Ruby arrived. But me?" He laughed without humor. "I knew maybe 10 signs when she died. Hello, I love you. Basic stuff. I realized after the funeral I couldn't actually talk to my daughter. Not really. So I learned." Andrea was quiet, processing. That must have been incredibly difficult, learning a language while grieving and raising a child alone. Joel watched Ruby hanging upside down while Harper clapped. "It was the only thing I could do. Ruby had lost her mother. She needed to know she wasn't alone." Andrea's fingers traced her cup. "Harper's father left when she was 2. When we got the diagnosis, she'd never speak. He said he couldn't handle having a disabled child, wanted me to put her in a facility. Said it would be easier." Her voice carried old anger. "I filed for divorce 3 weeks later." Joel felt his understanding of Andrea shift. The expensive clothes and confidence were armor. Underneath was just another parent fighting for their child. "Harper's lucky to have you," Joel said sincerely. Andrea looked at him and her armor cracked. "I don't feel lucky. I feel like I'm failing, working too much, missing school events. Sometimes I wonder if he was right." Joel shook his head firmly. "You're here now, on Saturday morning, giving Harper what she needs most. A chance to be herself with someone who understands. That's not failing. That's succeeding in what matters." Andrea's eyes were bright. "You made her smile in 30 seconds in a grocery store, something I struggle to do after long work weeks. You have a gift." Joel laughed genuinely. "It's not a gift. It's just paying attention, seeing what someone needs and trying to give it." They sat in comfortable silence, watching their daughters play. Other children glanced curiously at the girls' silent conversation, but Harper and Ruby didn't notice. They were in their own world. "Can I ask you something?" Joel said. Andrea nodded. "What do you do for work?" Andrea smiled slightly. "I run a tech company, Walsh Industries. We develop software for businesses." Joel tried not to show surprise. Walsh Industries. He'd heard of it, seen their logo downtown. Worth hundreds of millions. And here he was, an HVAC tech making $40,000, sitting with the woman who owned it all. The class difference suddenly felt enormous. Andrea must have seen his face. "But that's just what I do. Not who I am. Who I am is Harper's mom. Everything else is means to an end." Joel relaxed slightly. "I fix air conditioners and heating systems. Not glamorous, but pays bills. Mostly." Andrea tilted her head. "Are you good at it?" Joel shrugged. "Good enough. Been doing it 5 years. Steady work." Andrea was quiet, then said something unexpected. Walsh Industries needs someone to manage building maintenance. Full-time position, benefits, stable hours, better pay than contracting. Would you be interested? Joel's first instinct was refusal. He didn't want charity, but he thought about Ruby, about bills, about hearing aids insurance wouldn't cover, about coming home at 8 too exhausted to do anything. I don't want special treatment, Joel said carefully. If you're offering because you feel sorry, Andrea held up her hand. I'm offering because I watched you communicate naturally with Harper in a way most people can't be bothered to learn. Because you showed me you pay attention, you care about details, you understand people's needs. Those are exactly what I look for in employees. The fact you're raising a daughter alone and doing excellently just tells me you're responsible and dedicated. Joel's throat felt tight. I'd need a trial period. 3 months. If I'm not good enough, you let me go. No hard feelings. I need to earn this. Andrea extended her hand across the table. Deal, but I already know you'll exceed expectations. Joel shook it, wondering if this was a mistake or the best decision of his life. Probably both. Before they could say more, Harper and Ruby came running over, faces flushed with happiness. Can Ruby come to my birthday party? Harper signed to Andrea. It's next month. Please? Andrea looked at Joel questioningly. Joel nodded. If it's okay with your mom, it's okay with me. Ruby's face lit up like Christmas. Really? I'm invited to a party? Joel ruffled her hair. Really? Ruby hugged him, then Andrea, then Harper, too excited for boundaries. Harper hugged back, both girls laughing, and Andrea's eyes met Joel's over their heads. Understanding passed between them. Recognition, not being alone anymore. The playdate lasted 2 more hours. The girls played until exhausted, finally collapsing in grass, signing lazily about favorite colors and whether unicorns were better than dragons. Joel and Andrea discussed practical things. When Joel could start, what the schedule looked like, coordinating more playdates. But underneath was something else. A tentative friendship between 2 people with no reason to meet, brought together by their daughters and 30 seconds in a grocery line. When they said goodbye, Harper made Ruby promise to text daily. Ruby made Harper promise to visit their apartment. The adults exchanged looks, knowing these promises would be kept. As Joel drove home with Ruby chattering excitedly beside him, he felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Real, tangible hope. 3 months passed faster than Joel expected. The job at Walsh Industries was everything Andrea promised. Stable hours, decent pay, benefits that covered Ruby's hearing aids completely. Joel managed building maintenance, leading a small team, solving problems before they became crises. He arrived early, stayed late when needed, proving Andrea's faith wasn't misplaced. His co-workers respected him not because he was friends with the CEO, but because he was genuinely excellent. He'd noticed inefficient lighting and proposed a solution saving $50,000 annually. He'd reorganized maintenance to prevent problems rather than react. He earned his place through competence. Ruby thrived beyond Joel's imagination. With stable schedules, he picked her up daily without fail. He attended every parent-teacher conference, every school play, every art show. He had time for homework, vocabulary practice, just being present. And most importantly, Ruby had Harper. The girls were inseparable, texting constantly via video sign language, having sleepovers, collaborating on projects, creating secret signs only they understood. Ruby's teachers commented on her transformation. She volunteered in class now, raised her hand, participated instead of shrinking. Andrea changed too. She learned sign language properly, taking online classes. Her signing was clumsy, but Harper's face when her mother signed something new made it worthwhile. Andrea restructured her work schedule, delegating more, trusting her team. She made Harper's school events, had dinner with her most nights. She started an initiative at Walsh Industries, recruiting employees with disabilities, creating genuine inclusion beyond legal compliance. Joel had worried about seeming like charity, but those fears evaporated. Co-workers treated him normally. Successes were acknowledged, mistakes corrected without condescension. Andrea maintained professional boundaries at work, never giving special treatment. But outside work, they'd become real friends. They had coffee while girls played, traded parenting advice. Joel taught Andrea advanced signs. Andrea helped Joel navigate school systems. On a Friday evening, 3 months after that first playdate, Andrea called with an unusual request. Walsh Industries is hosting our holiday gala next Friday for employees and families. Harper's been asking if Ruby will be there. Would you and Ruby want to come? Joel's first instinct was refusal. Fancy parties weren't his thing. He didn't own a proper suit. He'd feel out of place. But he thought about Ruby, about how much she'd love getting dressed up, how proud she'd be attending with Harper. We'll be there, Joel said. Andrea's relief was audible. Thank you. And Joel? It's not formal, just festive. No tuxedo needed. Joel laughed. Good, because I don't own one. The night of the gala, Joel borrowed a blazer from a co-worker and wore his best jeans and button-down. Ruby wore a red dress from a thrift store, her hair in careful curls Joel spent an hour perfecting. She signed, "I'm beautiful" at the mirror, and Joel's heart clenched. You're gorgeous, he signed back. The most beautiful girl at the party. The gala was in a hotel ballroom, decorated with lights and evergreen garlands. Joel felt immediately out of place among employees in cocktail dresses and sport coats. Then Harper came running in a green velvet dress, signing, "Ruby, you're here!" And Ruby lit up. And Joel remembered why they came. Andrea appeared beside him, elegant in navy. You came. I'm glad. Joel gestured at the impressive ballroom. This is amazing. Every year? Andrea smiled. Tradition, to thank employees and let families see where parents work. She paused. Come on, I'll introduce you. She guided him through the crowd, including Joel in conversations with department heads. Joel was aware how different he was. They discussed market trends and projections. He discussed compressor replacements and efficiency. But Andrea kept him included, kept asking his opinion, treating him like he belonged. As evening progressed, Joel relaxed. The food was excellent, the music pleasant, and watching Ruby and Harper dance together made everything worthwhile. Employees approached Joel throughout the night, thanking him for fixing their heating, preventing air conditioning failures. He'd made genuine difference, he realized, not just for Andrea, but everyone in this building. That felt meaningful. Near the end, Andrea took the stage. She gave a brief speech thanking everyone, announcing bonuses and promotions. Then she said something that made Joel's breath catch. This year, Walsh Industries started a new initiative, creating a more inclusive workplace, recognizing diversity includes people with disabilities. This wasn't just policy change, it was culture change. And it started because someone showed me our way wasn't good enough. Andrea's eyes found Joel's. 3 months ago, a man in a grocery line took 30 seconds to communicate with my daughter in sign language. Such a small gesture. But it changed everything. It made me realize true inclusion isn't about checking boxes. It's about genuinely seeing people and making effort to understand their needs. Since then, we've hired 12 employees with disabilities, installed better accessibility features, trained our entire staff in basic sign language. The crowd applauded, and Joel's face flushed. I'm sharing this because small acts of kindness genuinely matter. Paying attention matters. Making someone feel seen and understood can change lives. Thank you to Joel Brennan, whose simple act reminded me what really matters, and thank you all for embracing this change. The applause was louder, and Joel wanted to disappear. But Ruby tugged his sleeve, signing, "You're famous, Daddy!" With such pride, Joel had to smile. After the speech, people approached asking about sign language lessons, sharing stories about family members with disabilities, thanking him for the culture change. It was overwhelming in the best way. As the party wound down, Harper and Ruby were passed out in chairs, exhausted from dancing. Andrea sat beside Joel, both watching their sleeping daughters. "Thank you for coming. It meant a lot." Joel shook his head. "I should thank you. 3 months ago I was barely surviving. Now I have stable job, benefits, time with Ruby. You changed our lives." Andrea looked at him directly. "No, Joel, you changed your own life. I just opened a door. You walked through it and proved you belonged. Everything you've accomplished, you earned." Joel nodded, throat tight. "Still, thank you for seeing past the dirty uniform and grease under my nails." Andrea smiled. "I didn't see past those things. I saw someone who worked hard enough to come home dirty. Someone who loved his daughter enough to learn an entire language. Someone who was kind to a stranger's child. That's what I saw. The rest was just details." They sat in comfortable silence as the ballroom emptied. Finally, Joel gently woke Ruby, lifting her when she was too sleepy to walk. Andrea did the same with Harper. They walked to parking together, girls managing sleepy waves before families separated. As Joel drove home through quiet streets, he thought about how 30 seconds had led to all this. Stable job, security, friendship, and most importantly, Ruby having what she deserved. A real friend, support system, future full of possibilities. 6 months after that grocery store meeting, Joel stood in the Walsh Industries break room making morning coffee. His phone buzzed with a text from Andrea. "Harper wants Ruby at the aquarium Saturday. My treat. Please say yes or I'll never hear the end of it." Joel smiled and typed back. "Ruby would love it. But I'm paying for our tickets. No arguments." Andrea's response was instant. "You're stubborn." Joel sent back a smiley emoji, marveling at how comfortable their friendship had become. The aquarium trip was perfect. Girls pressing faces to tanks, signing excitedly about fish and sharks and sea turtles. At the jellyfish exhibit, Andrea told Joel about the merger. "My role's changing. More travel, more responsibility. 6 months ago I'd have been thrilled, but now I keep thinking about Harper." Joel understood. "Only you can decide. But for what it's worth, Harper won't remember your paycheck. She'll remember whether you were there." Andrea nodded slowly. "When did you get so wise?" Joel laughed. "I'm not wise, just someone who learned you can't get time back." Andrea decided to take the promotion, but on her terms. Better work-life balance, minimal travel. "And I'm bringing you with me," she said. Joel blinked. "What?" Andrea smiled. "The merged company needs someone to oversee facility management for all their offices. Significant step-up, substantial pay increase, managing people instead of fixing things. I recommended you. They want to interview you next week." Joel's mind reeled. "Andrea, I don't have credentials." She held up her hand. "You have 3 months of proven excellence, recommendations from everyone, intelligence and work ethic to learn what you don't know, and people skills that can't be taught. That's what they need." The interview went better than Joel hoped. He answered honestly, focused on his strengths. The offer letter came 2 days later. The salary made him reread it 3 times. More than double his income. Enough for a better apartment in a safer neighborhood. Enough to save for Ruby's future, for college, for whatever she needed. Enough to breathe without constantly calculating whether they could afford groceries and rent simultaneously. Ruby squealed when Joel told her, signing so fast he could barely keep up. That evening after Ruby slept, Joel sat in their living room feeling everything. The job, friendships, stability, Ruby's confidence, all traced back to 30 seconds when he chose kindness over indifference. He thought about Andrea approaching him in the park, about Harper isolated until Ruby came along, about how none of this would have happened if he'd ignored Harper's tears. Small acts of kindness really did matter. Paying attention really did change lives. Not just the lives you helped, but your own life too. Joel texted Andrea. "Thank you for everything, for seeing potential in me, for giving me a chance, for being Ruby's friend and mine." Andrea's response came quickly. "Thank you for reminding me what really matters, for showing me success isn't just about profit margins, for being the friend I needed." Joel checked on Ruby one final time. She slept peacefully, stuffed rabbit under one arm, slight smile on her face. Joel adjusted her blankets, kissed her forehead, whispered words she couldn't hear, but he needed to say. "We made it, baby. We're going to be okay. More than okay. We're going to be happy." Standing in the doorway with a better job starting soon and a thriving daughter and friendships that felt like family, Joel realized it wasn't just wish or hope. It was truth. They had made it through the hardest years. They were okay. They were genuinely happy. And it had all started with a simple decision to be kind to a little girl in a grocery store who looked like she needed someone to see her. To really see her. The way Joel saw Ruby every single day. The way everyone deserved to be seen.